What would you do if an evil spirit had been haunting your family for 30 years, waiting for the perfect moment to take your life? And what if the only way to save your daughter was to uncover a horrifying family secret buried in the past? Today, I'm going to explain an intense Indonesian horror movie called Jalan Pulang, a terrifying story filled with curses, vengeful spirits, dark rituals, and a mother's ultimate sacrifice. Trust me, the deeper this story goes, the darker and more heartbreaking it becomes. Today, the story begins with a woman named Marzina, who is crying inside her small hut with her dead child in front of her. She keeps repeating over and over that she has failed. She says she couldn't be a good mother. And now, crying, she steps outside the house. Grabbing a sword, she brutally slaughters all the goats tied outside the house. And as she does, she keeps repeating the same thing over and over. Those people are going to pay for this. Anyway, Marzina now walks up to a luxurious house built right next to her hut. Inside, we see a couple celebrating their daughter Tini's birthday. And Tini's mother tells her that no matter where she goes, she must return. Now, Marzina takes one look at them. Moments later, right outside that house, she hangs herself from a tree and ends her life. With that, the story jumps 30 years forward from here, meaning it is now the year 2000. That is when we are introduced to Aram, who is a teenager and attends school. Her birthday is coming up in 5 days, so she was busy inviting her classmates. Suddenly, she spots Marzina outside the classroom, whom she initially ignores. But now, all the other classmates seem to have Marzina's face. The ghost starts tormenting her. Out of intense fear, panic, and distress, Aram starts stabbing them with a mechanical pencil. But in reality, she was actually stabbing her own classmates. She ends up wounding several children. And after a little while, her mother Lastini is called to the school. Remember Tini, the girl shown at the beginning of the movie? Well, this is that same Tini, meaning Lastini. And her daughter here is Aram. Now, the principal tells her that Aram is not mentally stable, so the school is expelling her. She warns that if they protest, the school authorities might report it to the police. Now, Lastini agrees to the school's terms, and she takes her home. On the way, all the school kids mock Aram, teasing her by calling her crazy. Now, Lastini takes Aram to visit her stepdaughter, Leah. After talking for a little bit, Leah tells her that Aram might actually be crazy, and she should be sent to a psychiatric facility. Before we move on, here's something important to know. Leah is Lastini's stepdaughter, because her husband, Suro, had adopted Leah right after Aram was born. Hearing Leah's words, Lastini becomes absolutely furious. She tells Leah that even though she and Aram don't share the same blood, they are still sisters, and she must never think that way about her sister. Anyway, she leaves from there with Aram, and on the way, Aram tells her that maybe Leah is right and she really is crazy, to which Lastini replies that she doesn't care what anyone says. Lastini tells her that she loves Aram very much, and if there is a cure for this anywhere in the world, she will find it and fix her. Lastini promises Aram, and Aram tells herself that she will get better. But her evil form briefly torments her, which leaves her deeply disturbed. Anyway, by now, both of them reach home, where Lastini's youngest child, her son Rama, was waiting for them. Now, Aram goes straight to her room, and Rama follows her inside, asking her to play with him. But when she turns toward him, Rama also catches a brief glimpse of her evil face. However, she instantly goes back to normal. She tells Rama that she will change her clothes and come play with him. Meanwhile, Lastini thinks back to her husband, triggering a flashback. The flashback takes us to the year 1996, which was actually a leap year, and Aram's birthday fell right on February 29th. Suro prepares for her birthday, but suddenly, Aram gets possessed and stabs him with a knife. Lastini was completely devastated by this sight, but Suro tells Lastini to ask Leah to help Aram. The truth was, a curse had fallen upon Aram on her birthday, and Suro had written down ways to break it inside his diary. He tells Lastini to read that diary and try to save Aram. He warns that they must break the curse, and it has to be done before her birthday. Otherwise, many lives will be lost. Since this year is a leap year, Aram must be cured this very year. Otherwise, things will go completely out of hand. As I mentioned, this started in 1996, and now it is the year 2000. By now, you probably understand why that incident happened at the school. How all of this is unfolding, and how lives will be lost. Meanwhile, Aram is playing outside with Rama. She puts him on the merry-go-round and starts spinning it violently fast. At this rate, the ride is going to snap and fly apart, which will either severely injure Rama or kill him instantly. Hearing his screams, Lastini rushes outside and stops the ride, injuring her own hand in the process. Now, Lastini takes her husband Suro's diary, grabs Rama and Aram, and sets out to find a cure for Aram's curse. But just then, Leah arrives and confronts her. She tells Lastini that she has visited shamans before and is going again. But it won't do any good. To which Lastini replies that she has to go, because this is the only way to save Aram. It is also the only way to save everyone else. Leah answers that if that's the case, she is coming with them too. Finally, the family sets out together to find a cure and end Aram's curse. Everyone is singing and laughing on the drive, until they arrive at a village, where Aram starts seeing ghostly children. The sight terrifies her, but Lastini comforts her. Right at this moment, the countdown begins. There were only 5 days left until Aram's birthday. This meant she had to be freed from her curse within these 5 days, or she would lose her life. First, they visit a shaman named Rustam, and Lastini tells him all about Aram. He promises to cure Aram. Meanwhile, Rama needs to use the restroom, so Aram takes him to the backyard of the house. Rama walks ahead while she follows closely behind. Suddenly, Rama encounters a ghostly child who points toward a spot. He says that Rustam is an evil shaman who sacrifices children. Right then, Aram flashes into a vision where she sees Rustam burying a child's body. The sight terrifies her. Meanwhile, Rustam walks into the backyard to prepare his ritual. But Aram approaches him, fully possessed by Marzina by this point, and launches an attack on Rustam. Lastini and Leah rush outside just as the possessed Aram hurls Rustam through the air. He crashes into a tree, and a broken branch impales his body, killing him on the spot. Seeing this, Lastini and the others are completely horrified. Lastini quickly grabs her children and flees the area. Based on what Aram saw, Rustam appeared to be sacrificing children. Rustam committed horrible acts sacrificing children, which is why he met his end. Anyway, they arrive at another village, reaching the ashram of a female shaman named Rahana. The moment Rahana sees Aram, she immediately recognizes that she is possessed. She gives her a ritual cleansing bath and binds her to a spot. Then, she takes Lastini aside and performs a small ritual to restore Lastini's past memories. Inside these visions, Lastini sees her parents. She remembers playing nearby as a child, and recalls the small hut near her house where Marzina lived with her daughter. Visions also reveal exactly how Marzina died. She remembers that one day, while traveling somewhere in a car with her parents, Marzina's spirit haunted them. This caused a massive car accident that killed both of her parents. Lastini completely remembers Marzina now. Now, Rahana tells her that she won't be able to cure Aram. Instead, only her mother can fix her. Meanwhile, while Aram is tied up outside, Rama approaches her. Rama is confronted by Marzina's spirit, who begs Rama to set Aram free, because Marzina herself cannot step inside the holy ashram. Rama unties Aram, and the possessed Aram instantly kills one of the ashram workers. She attacks Rahana, injuring her, and then starts walking over shattered glass. She runs out onto the road and is nearly hit by a bus. Luckily, the bus driver slams on the brakes, avoiding an accident. Rahana's assistant quickly puts a locket around Aram's neck. She explains that this will protect her temporarily. However, Lastini must find a permanent cure before her birthday. Otherwise, no power, charm, or blessing will be able to save her. She adds that the locket will also help restore her old memories. Now, Lastini leaves the place, and there are only 3 days left until Aram's birthday. Looking through the diary, they find the name of another shaman named Rajat, and they head out to find him. On the way, they stop at a spot to rest, and Aram suddenly experiences visions of Suro. He appears before her, and she sees exactly how she had killed him. This leaves her completely devastated, because when she killed Suro, she was completely possessed and had no idea what she was doing. But now that her memories were back, she knew the horrific truth of what happened. Anyway, she breaks down completely, and Lastini tries to comfort her. Aram tells Lastini that this shaman will be their last attempt, and if she isn't cured, they should just give up. Hearing this deeply hurts Lastini, but she promises that she will try her best and will cure her no matter what. The next day arrives, and there are only 2 days left until her birthday. They finally arrive at Rajat Place, where his followers mention that he has already been waiting for them. Lastini goes to speak with him alone. Rajat tells her that he was expecting her, and that he had actually figured out a ritual alongside Suro years ago. But because Lastini didn't believe in these things back then, she delayed coming to him. He adds that if she had come sooner, everything would have been fine. Even though all is not lost yet, time is running dangerously short. On the leap year birthday, the spirit will possess Aram permanently. Once that happens, they will have no choice but to kill her. Lastini panics upon hearing this, but Rajat explains that they truly have no other option. The entity possessing Aram is an incredibly powerful spirit that is directly tied to Lastini's childhood. In other words, it has been with her since she was a little girl. Lastini thinks back to her memories. She recalls playing near Marcina's house as a child. Marcina was there with her daughter, Ida, who was in terrible physical condition, causing Marcina to weep. When Lastini approached them, Marcina told her to go away, warning that Lastini's father would get angry if he caught her there. Now, coming back to the story, Aram is prepared for the ritual. At the same time, Leah is given clothes identical to Aram's. Aram is placed inside a human-sized cage, covered with a shroud, and 5 birds are hung above her. Rajat followers begin chanting for the ritual while the women start to dance. With that, the ritual officially begins. Rajat starts slaughtering the birds one by one, terrifying Aram. Meanwhile, Lastini notices Leah's identical clothes and asks why she is wearing them. Leah explains that the followers gave them to her, so she put them on, assuming it was part of the ritual. As the ritual progresses, Leah's condition begins to rapidly deteriorate. Distressed, Lastini demands to know what Rajat is doing. Rajat reveals that this was the exact ritual he and Suro had devised. To save Aram, they have to transfer the evil entity into a new host to sacrifice. And that host is none other than Leah, which is the exact reason Suro had adopted her in the first place, to use her as a sacrificial lamb. Hearing this completely shatters Lastini. Deeply disturbed, she rushes to protect Leah. Leah tells her that if this is what it takes to cure Aram, she is willing to accept it. But Lastini refuses, stating she will never allow any of her children to be sacrificed. Suddenly, Aram vanishes from the cage. Right then, all the followers performing the ritual begin brutally ending their own lives one by one. One stabs blades into his own eyes. Another smashes his own head. Someone else tears at their own skin. Others collapse while dancing. Everyone ends up dead, and finally, the possessed Aram brutally kills Rajat as well. When she snaps back to her senses, she is completely terrified by the carnage. Lastini quickly gathers everyone and escapes the compound. The trauma of killing all those people, including her father, begins to consume Aram, but Lastini does her best to keep her calm. Now, Lastini had absolutely no options left. She pulls out the keys to her childhood home, which she kept inside a locket hanging in the car. She drives straight toward her old family home. With only 1 day left until the birthday, they finally arrive at the house. The rope Marcina used to hang herself was still tied to that tree outside. They step inside the house, triggering old memories for Lastini. The truth is revealed. Marcina was actually her father's first wife. But when their daughter Ida fell gravely ill, her father abandoned them and forced them to live in the goat shed. He then married Lastini's mother to create the happy, healthy family he always wanted. The most shocking part was that he never allowed Ida inside the house, even though she was his own daughter, out of fear that she might infect Lastini. Marzyna was forced to live like a house servant. Despite the cruelty, Marzyna still cared for Lastini, but Lastini's father kept them strictly apart. In other words, Marzyna had always loved Lastini. He would constantly berate Marzyna and forbade Lastini from playing with Ida, which caused Marzyna immense pain. That was the real reason Marzyna always told Lastini to go home before her father got angry. We also see that the family driver, Bagger, deeply respected Marzyna. He had no issue with Ida either, and would often tell Lastini to play with Ida because she was her older sister. He constantly begged Marzyna to pack up and leave that toxic place. But she always refused, saying it was her home and she wouldn't leave, hoping things would get better once the kids grew up. Now, the story returns to the present, and Aram gets possessed once again. Lastini locks her inside a room, chaining her to the bed. She hands the key to Leah and strictly warns her not to open the door under any circumstances. Suddenly, Lastini spots Ida's spirit inside the house. Shaking it off, she rushes out to find help. She drives to Bagger's house and confronts him. She tells him that in her visions of her parents' fatal accident, she saw Bagger at the scene. She demands to know how he got there and what his true relationship was with Marzyna. And friends, this is where the movie reveals its darkest secret. Bagger confesses that he was deeply in love with Marzyna. Lastini's father had married Marzyna first, but when she gave birth to a deformed child, he cast them out to marry his own cousin, who gave birth to Lastini. He then forced Marzyna and Ida into a life of brutal abuse. He would physically assault Marzyna and completely refused to provide medical treatment for Ida, which eventually killed her. Consumed by grief, Marzyna took her own life, which was the exact scene shown at the beginning of the movie. Because Bagger loved her so much, he dug up her buried corpse, stripped off her skin, and performed a forbidden incantation on it. He did this so Marzyna's spirit could exact revenge on Lastini's father and his entire bloodline. That vengeful spirit is the exact entity possessing Aram. Because Aram was born on a leap year, she had survived this long. If her birthday came every year, the possession would have consumed her completely by now. The constant wound on Aram's back was simply because Marzyna's spirit was literally clinging to her body. Think of it like a dark entity permanently riding on her shoulders. Anyway, Lastini begs Bagger to save Aram, but he cold-heartedly refuses to help. Meanwhile, back at the house, only 1 hour remained until Aram's birthday. Fully possessed, Aram tears through the roof of the locked room and breaks free. She violently attacks Leah and Rama, forcing them to run and lock themselves inside a restroom. Just then, Lastini arrives back at the house and spots Aram outside. Panicked, she rushes toward her, following her all the way to Marzyna's old hut. Marzyna's spirit brutally attacks Lastini, but Ida's spirit appears and guides Lastini through a safe path. Since Ida was her older sister, she was actively trying to protect her. Anyway, Lastini finds Aram near a tree, violently snapping and breaking her own fingers against the bark. Lastini stops her, completely horrified to see Aram's mangled hands. Suddenly, Aram vanishes again. Aram launches a surprise attack from up in the tree, hurting Lastini, and then flees toward a nearby cliff. Lastini chases after her to save her, and suddenly, Bagger appears at the scene, having had a change of heart. He quickly leads them down to a river to perform a ritual to break the curse. During the ritual, he throws the skin used in the incantation into the fire, burning it to ashes. Finally, Marzyna's evil spirit is forcefully ejected from Aram's body. For a moment, they think it's over, but Marzyna's enraged spirit violently drags them into the water. Marzyna's spirit decapitates Bagger on the spot. It turns out the incantation succeeded in separating the spirit from Aram, but the raw malice and hatred of Marzyna's soul manifested as pure violent energy. Aram manages to pull herself out of the water and crawls onto the riverbank, where Lastini rushes to her side. But Marzyna's spirit surfaces again, charging forward to repossess Aram. Obviously, the spirit was promised a body from that bloodline, and it refused to leave without taking one. Seeing no other way, Lastini throws herself in front of her daughter, letting Marcina's spirit possess her own body instead. The fully possessed Lastini moves forward to kill Aram, but Lastini desperately fights to regain temporary control over her own actions. Using all her remaining strength, she repeatedly smashes her own head with a heavy rock, killing herself on the spot. By destroying her own body, Lastini successfully destroys Marcina's spirit along with it. Because of her ultimate sacrifice, Aram is saved. Lastini fulfilled the duty of a true mother, a duty that neither Marcina nor her own parents could ever achieve. Lastini had promised that none of her children would be sacrificed, and in the end, she gave her own life to keep that promise. Finally, Aram's birthday arrives, and the curse is completely lifted. However, it is a heartbreaking birthday, as her mother passed away on that very day. In the final scene of the movie, Aram, Leah, and Rama are seen visiting Lastini's grave. At last, the curse was gone, and peace had finally returned to their lives. However, they will always feel the painful absence of their mother, and they will never forget her ultimate sacrifice. And boom, along with this, the movie ends right here. So friends, this was the story of the film Jalan Pulang, which is an incredibly intense Indonesian horror movie. The curse and the dark incantations shown in this film are highly unique and terrifying. The ending scene where Lastini sacrifices herself is deeply tragic. It is a movie that terrifies you but also moves you to tears, because that final sequence is incredibly emotional. I will see you all in the next video.